Hi, my name is Morgan Newman. I am a second year PhD student in the architecture department, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. So I am getting my PhD in architecture, even though I am not necessarily focused on buildings. The way I think about it is architecture is so what is present, the buildings and the infrastructure that are present in communities, but it's also the absence of that. So I'm interested more in looking at communities that have really kind of served as sacrifice zones. So they have been exploited in terms of their natural resources, in terms of the people, and they are facing a lot of environmental problems, environmental racism, environmental injustice. And to me, that is also a form of kind of hostile architecture. So why isn't there a lot of infrastructure in those areas? Why are those areas, built the way that they are? That's really what I'm interested in. And so that's why I'm getting my PhD in architecture. My research interests really lie at kind of the intersection of sustainable design and spatial and quantitative analysis. I'm particularly interested in rural communities and looking at kind of sustainable design systems or kind of radical design systems to confront environmental racism in those communities. My project for the Steinbrenner is titled Reparative Design, Developing a Framework for Confronting Environmental Racism in the Black Belt region. My advisor is Dr. Nita Raymond, who is a professor in the architecture department. My project is really focused on kind of laying the groundwork for my dissertation and for my doctoral research. So I'm interested particularly in the Black Belt region of Alabama. Just a quick background on what the Black Belt region is. During slavery, it became a really, I guess you could say, useful region for the United States because the soil was really fertile and was really great for growing cotton. So if you've ever heard of the term Cotton Kingdom, a lot of that is in the Black Belt region. So in Alabama, that region has a high density of African Americans, and it is also now a very impoverished area of the state. So there's a lot of poverty, a lot of people, there's a lot of infrastructure that's lacking. Over 80% of people don't have access to municipal sewer lines. I was talking to some people this summer when I was in Alabama, and there was a town in the region that just got running water for the very first time. So I'm really interested in that region, and this project really goes kind of backwards. So I'm doing a lot of historical analysis of really linking current problems with environmental racism that have been exacerbated by climate change and linking them to the slave plantation and the ways in which slavery really decimated ecologies in the region. So my project is a mixture of quantitative and qualitative analysis. So on the quantitative side, I'm really using spatial analysis to identify where former plantations were and look at what's happening on that land now and look at the quality of the land. So understanding, where major polluters are in the region and how close they are to Black communities or impoverished communities. And on the qualitative side, I'm really working with local organizations to understand more about the kind of current problems facing a lot of these communities, if it's sewer lines, if it's, air pollution, if it's water quality, if it's, infrastructure of their house, all of that all really kind of plays together. So it's very exploratory at this stage. What led me to pursue this specific project, or just really my doctoral research in general, is one, I'm originally from Alabama. My family is from a really small town, not particularly in the region that I'm looking at, but in another region nearby in Alabama. And I've always been really interested in kind of what's happening in rural communities, especially being in the architecture department, a lot of architects and urban planners are really focused on urban communities and making those communities really sustainable. But a lot of people still live in rural communities, and there's a lot going on there that a lot of people really overlook. So that's what really led me to focus in on these rural communities. I think that with this project, I am really hoping to just kind of, if anything, kind of spread the word about what's happening in the region. I think a lot of people are really surprised when they hear that, people don't have, municipal sewer lines, or that people, might not have running water in these communities. And this has been the case, in these communities for forever. So there's been a lot of kind of grassroots activism, but there really hasn't been a lot of kind of state intervention. So something that I really want to get out of this project is also kind of building relationships with some of the organizations that have been on the ground working, and the community members who actually have the lived experience of living in the Black Belt, being descendant of the enslaved people who worked on that land. So they are really the experts, and I'm hopefully coming in and using some of my knowledge, and we can build together these ideas for sustainable design interventions that don't necessarily rely on the state or the government, but something that people can do within their own communities. Everything has been really eye-opening so far, just learning more about the region. Definitely meeting and talking with people in the community has been a highlight. Yeah, I'm just excited for what kind of comes of it. It's definitely a project where, I don't know, there isn't necessarily an end. There's not necessarily an end point, or, once I get to a certain step where I'm like, oh, okay, my research is done here. I think it's something where it's definitely a journey. So I'm excited to be on that journey.